So, namaste, everybody, and welcome to part 6 of Atisha's Advice from the Heart. So, we've reached verse 25 now. So, verse 25 says, "See all living beings as your mother and father, and love them as if you were their child." So, this is a great thing about Buddhism, the way we talk about compassion. So, the way that you love your mother and you love your father is a real special bond you have there. And in Buddhism, they talk about having exactly the same bond for all beings. So you see all beings as your mother or your father or your guardian or somebody who you care about who brought you up. If we see other people as our mother and father and we have the same sort of compassion and kindness and empathy for, it means that we're going to treat them well. We're going to be nice to them. There's no need to argue with them or start to see them as our enemy or push them away, because we see all beings as our mother and father. So I don't think there's any other religions that actually talk about compassion in that way. So we must see that all beings as though we are their child, we're everybody's child. And people who believe in rebirth, then of course they will see that we've been reborn many times again and again. So it is quite possible that we have been other people's mother and father in a past life. But I think that's not the main point that Buddha was trying to make here. I think the main point he was trying to make was to ensure that we don't discriminate. We don't think, these people, we care for these people, and these people, I don't like these people. If we see everybody as the same, we see them as our mother and father, then there's no discrimination there. So there's no need for us to think badly about them or cause them any sort of difficulty, because we are their child. So this is how Atisha was trying to get that point across to us by saying, see all living beings as your mother and father. Treat them as your mother and father. Look upon everybody else as though you are their son or their daughter. So verse 26 says, always keep a smiling face and a loving mind, and speak truthfully without malice. Again, we're talking about being kind and caring to people. Everybody has their own troubles. I mean, we all have our own troubles. Life is a struggle. It is for all of us. And, not just at the moment while we're going through a pandemic, but life is difficult anyway. I mean, we have our ups and our downs. So if we meet people who are angry and they're negative and pessimistic, and of course it starts to bring us down and we start feeling a little bit negative and pessimistic as well. So Atisha is saying here that we should keep a smiling face and a loving mind and speak truthfully. If we can do that, if we can keep a smiling face and a loving mind, but that is difficult, yeah. I mean, it is difficult for us to smile the whole time, and particularly when we're going through difficult and challenging times, it's difficult to smile through that. But if you really understood the emptiness of nature, you saw that everything is impermanent. So whatever you're going through at the moment, and it may be a challenging thing, but it won't last. Nothing lasts. Things come to go. So if we see this challenge as something that is a difficult thing and I have to work hard to get myself through that, but at least I know it's not going to last. And when we see it as that it's not going to last, then we can have that smiling face and the loving mind. It's when we get so wrapped up in our own world and our own concerns and our own troubles and get all tangled up in our ego that we forget about other people, and we forget that actually, yeah, other people are also going through the same things here, or they're going through, things that I've been through before in my life, or maybe I haven't yet, but I will be going through. So we need to see that we're all the same. We all struggle through life. We all have the ups and downs, but none of it is permanent. Everything is going to change. So it could be difficult now, but it's not going to last. So keep that smile on your face. By smiling, it actually helps us anyway, because when we smile, it releases dopamine into our brain. And that dopamine is a happy drug. It's what makes us feel good about ourselves. It's what connects us together as human beings. It what makes us, helps us to understand that we're all interconnected. So by smiling, you're actually releasing that chemical into your body. The downside of that, when you're not smiling, when you're being miserable and you're being negative and pessimistic, what you release is cortisol. And cortisol does exactly the opposite. It makes you stressed. It makes you anxious. So not only is it good to keep a smile on your face because, a welcoming face, everybody likes to see that, but also it's good for us because it releases that dopamine. You can walk down the road and you see a stranger coming and you just smile and they smile and it just makes us feel good. That smile says so much. So try to keep that smiling face and a loving mind. So a loving mind is a mind that is caring, kind and compassionate. And remember, I've said this before in this series, when you're being compassionate and you're being kind and caring, don't discriminate. Don't think, oh yeah, I don't like that person. I don't like what that person does, and I'm not going to be kind and compassionate to them. Because what you're doing there is you're looking at the person's behavior. You're judging somebody on their behavior. And let's face facts, we all do stupid things. We've all done things that we regret. We all do things or have done things that we don't want other people to know about. So we've all been in that boat. And if we were all judged on that type of behavior, nobody would have any compassion for anybody. So when we're having this loving mind, when we're being kind and compassionate and caring, it's for all beings. It's for human beings. It's not for their behavior. It's for them as human beings. We want them to be happy and we don't want them to suffer. So that loving mind is about that. It's about opening up and seeing everybody as our mother and father and having kindness and compassion for everybody. And the final part of this verse 26 was speak truthfully without malice. These days, I mean, it's not necessarily speaking, but if you have a look at social media on Twitter, where people just put the most vile things. Somebody says something that is truthful to them, something that they believe. And instead of just thinking, okay, I don't believe that myself, but okay, if that's what they believe, we can't leave it at that. We have to write some awful things, some sometimes very cruel things. So when we speak and when we write, it has to be without malice. It has to be without trying to hurt somebody. In fact, all of our communication, all of our speaking and writing should be to join us together. It should be truthful. It should be kind. It should be useful. I mean, if what you're saying is absolutely of no use and it's going to harm somebody, then, you have to ask yourself, what is the point of me saying that? So verse 27 says, if you talk too much, I tend to do that. If you talk too much with little meaning, you'll make mistakes. Therefore, speak in moderation only when necessary. So it's another thing that we've learned, I think, as human beings is silence. And silence when you're sitting on your own, it's nice. I mean, we all can sit in silence on our own and it's wonderful. But actually, when we sit in silence with somebody else, nobody speaks for a moment, we seem to become really embarrassed by that and think, "Oh, I need to say something." And you say things that have little meaning. I mean, things you just say, just let it out, just so you break that silence. That's where we can make some big mistakes by just opening our mouth before we've engaged our mind and thought about exactly what we wanted to say. So it is much better to speak in moderation, speak when you need to. So as a child, we were always brought up to children should be seen and not heard. And so we couldn't speak. I mean, if people came around the house and they were having their adult conversation, we just had to sit there quietly. And even if a thought came into our head that we wanted to say something, we were never allowed to say something. So I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is that ensure that what you are going to say is going to be useful, is going to be kind and caring. It's going to be something that is truthful. If it isn't, then it's much, much better just to sit in silence and say nothing. Better say nothing than say something that is wrong or, just ridiculous, just idle talk, because we don't want people to think that, oh, we have nothing to say. Sitting in silence can be a great thing. And also, when you sit in silence, it gives you time to think. And then maybe you can think of something even better to talk about, and you can have a really good in-depth conversation instead of just a shallow, idle, gossipy conversation that is no good for you and no good for anybody else. And certainly no good if you're gossiping about other people. It's not kind for them. So we need to talk and talk in moderation. Ensure that when we do talk, whatever we're saying it meaningfully, and we're saying it that it's helpful and it's kind. So watch your speech. So there's a part of the Eightfold Path, which some people say right speech. I mean, it's really what I see as wise speech. We speak wisely. So we choose our words wisely. And if you're just like this, then you don't have time to choose your words wisely. So it's okay to have a little bit of silence. And if there is nothing to say, then guess what? Say nothing. That's the best thing. So that's verse 27. So verse 28 is, if you engage in many meaningless activities, your virtuous activities will degenerate. Therefore, stop activities that are not spiritual. So maybe it's a little bit going a little bit far in, these days to say that stop every activity that is not spiritual. But at least we should not be engaging in meaningless things that are actually going to take our virtue away. So it's okay to look at social media and maybe have a quick look at TikTok or Reels on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, but it's when we spend an awful lot of time there engaged in these meaningless activities. Maybe we just, again, go out and we just talking nonsense because we don't have anything much really to say, so we'll talk meaninglessly. Any activities that it's going to start to break into your virtuous actions, it's going to be a problem for you. I mentioned at the beginning of this series about setting yourself boundaries. Of course, when we're children, we have boundaries, and school and society and our parents set these boundaries, and they're good because they know how far we can go and know not to step over that boundaries. As we become older, we forget about that. But really, we still need to be setting ourselves boundaries about where is the line for us, where is the area we don't want to step over into. And meaningless activities should be that area. So we should be setting ourselves boundaries that I'll go up to here, but I won't go any further. Those boundaries you need to set yourself. It's no good other people setting those boundaries for you. we're adults, we can set our own boundaries now, our own red lines that we don't want to step over. But we have to ensure that whatever we are doing, we're not breaking our virtuous acts. Because if you start to, break those virtuous acts, then it means that you've gone right over your boundaries. It means you've taken yourself way off the spiritual path. And it is difficult to go through life and stay on that spiritual path because, when we talk about the spiritual path and, you go from samsara to nirvana and you think it's A to B and there's a good straight line and we go that way. Of course, that isn't true. I mean, life is a meandering path and the spiritual path is exactly the same. Sometimes this way, sometimes that way, sometimes that. So, and sometimes we fall off the path and we have to get back on. But if you've set yourself these boundaries, then as soon as you fall off the path, okay, this is not where I want to be. I need to bring myself back onto the path again. So we need to ensure that we're not engaging in too many meaningless activities that are going to degenerate those virtuous activities of ours. So verse 29 is, it is completely meaningless to put effort into activities that have no essence. So I think here, what we're talking about, no essence, is you keep putting, all your effort into something that is meaningless, that is not going to help you in your life, then you're wasting your life. For me, a meditation, being mindful, doing reflection practice, are all activities that are going to be not only good for me, but they're going to be good for other people as well. Good for me because I start to tame that old monkey mind. I start to be able to change those habits of mine that need changing, letting go of all those old concepts that are completely outdated now. So that's going to be good for me. But when I'm in that state, when I've calmed my mind down and I've sorted my mind out, then I can help other people. So it is hugely important that we don't just spend our whole time doing meaningless activities, that have fun. We need to have fun. It's not just sitting at home and doing meditation all day long. I mean, you're not yogis, and that isn't your job. So great, have fun. Why not? Go and have fun. But we need to understand that the fun we're having has to make sure that we're not degrading or degenerating that virtuous acts that we're trying to keep. We're not stepping over those boundaries. And to ensure that we give a lot of effort into doing meditation, into doing mindfulness, into doing reflection practices, because all of those practices are going to help you at the moment. They'll help you all the way up to your last breath, and they will also be helping other people. When you've sorted your mind out, then you can go and you can help all other types of people. But until you've sorted your mind out, how can you help somebody else's mind? If somebody is struggling badly with, say, anxiety, and you're also struggling with anxiety, and they come for you for help, how can we help? We can't help if we're actually in the same boat as them. So when we do activities, we have to make sure that we put in a huge amount of activities that are going to not just pay off now, but pay off in the future, and not just pay off for ourselves, but for all beings, so we can help. Once you've sorted your mind out, you can help other people reach that same stage. So it's important that don't waste all your time on meaningless activities. If you're going to put in the effort to do something good. Put in the effort to do something that is really going to help you. By going and seeing lots of different movies, going to bars and knowing the latest songs and the latest dances or whatever it is, and the latest groups and all of that, maybe, it's okay. But it's not going to help you when you're about to take your last breath. and we will all be going to take our last breath sooner or later. So at that time, we needed to have worked our mind out. There is no benefit in taking your last breath, and that last breath is just full of regret because you haven't done anything. You didn't put in any effort to sort out your mind, to understand death, to understand the way the world is. If you've spent no time doing that, then you will have regret. And nobody wants their last breath to be a breath of regret. So it's important that we put in a lot of effort into going down the spiritual path, working on yourself so you can help other people. So the verse 30, so the last verse I'll do today, is if things you desire do not come, it's due to cause and effect. Therefore, keep a happy and relaxed mind. We don't, do we? I mean, when things we desire don't come our way, or things don't work out well, we never sit back and think, oh, well, that was cause and effect, so I'm happy and relaxed about it. I don't think so. We're completely the other way. We get annoyed, we get angry, why? And then we start feeling sorry for ourselves. We start thinking, oh, I'm a victim. Why has it always happened to me? So that's not the way to look at it. And also it's not to look at it as destiny or it's pre-written. I mean, these are things that are fanciful. I mean, nothing can be written. Nobody can have their destiny. Things happen through cause and effect. Something happens, you get an effect from that. So, and the cause is usually more than one. I mean, there's not just one cause, it's usually several causes and you get an effect. So it's important that we understand that life is about cause and effect. If you do something, there are going to be consequences for that. And everybody else, if they do something, there'll be consequences for their actions, cause and effect. Now, if we lived in this beautiful little bubble and we lived in a vacuum, then of course, whatever we do would affect us only. And at that point, then you can say, do good things and good things are going to happen to you. And you do bad things and bad things are going to happen to you. This is the way people talk about karma. But I mean, it's ridiculous because, okay, we don't live in that bubble. If I lived in the bubble, then I did a bad thing, it would affect me. If I did a good thing, it would affect me. But I don't live in a bubble. So it isn't just about my causes and effects. It's about yours. What I do will affect you. What you do will affect me. So the whole world is just like a spider's web of causes and conditions. What other people are doing affecting me. What I'm doing is affecting me. So unfortunately, we can't just say simple things like if you do good and then good is going to happen, because we know that isn't true. You see some really people who act in bad ways and they have huge, great houses and lots of money. And it seems like everything they desire. And then there's really good people who have awful lives and they don't have anything. So we cannot look upon life and just think that I desire this, so I'm going to get it, because it's all about me, me, me. Life isn't all about me, me, me. Life is about all of us. There are nearly 7 billion of us on the planet and we're all interconnected. And all of those 7 billion causes and effects are all overlapping each other. So when things you desire don't come to you, it is because of cause and effect. It is not because of some higher being is looking down on you as you've been a naughty person and you're not getting this. Or it's not somebody who wrote it down in a book when you were born and that's your destiny and that's what's going to happen. That is not how life is. Life is causes and effects. So you need to understand that what you do, whatever you do, there are going to be consequences for that. And what other people do, there'll be consequences. But sometimes what they do, you have the consequence, and what you do, they get the consequence. So when things don't come to you, just understand it's because of causes and effects. And sometimes, we just love to know why, don't we? I mean, it's a question, why? Why did that happen to me? Why did they do that? Why did they say that? Why? I mean, we're always saying why. But sometimes it's so difficult to know why, because there isn't just one cause of anything. Sometimes there can be many causes just for one effect. So it's like if you plant the rice seed, it can't be just you plant the rice seed and from the rice seed you get a rice plant. It can't be like that. There has to be other conditions and causes, so sun and water and good soil and all those things, and people putting in and people picking it and packing it and taking it to shops. I mean, all of this comes into effect. So sometimes it's really difficult for us to see exactly what the cause is. And while you're spending your whole time looking at what the causes are, you've stopped living your life. So sometimes we just have to accept. And so it says here, if the things you desire do not come to you, it's due to cause and effect. Therefore, keep a happy and relaxed mind. And that's exactly what you'll do if you understand that things happen because of cause and effect. Sometimes we have absolutely no idea what the cause of that is, and we can't trace it back. It has just happened. It is nothing you've done. You just have the effect of somebody else. They caused that. So just remember, the whole world is joining together through causes and effect. Everything is happening because of cause and effect. And so if you don't get what you want, it's because of that. So don't get angry. Keep a happy and a relaxed mind. So thank you so much for listening to me and joining me in this session. We have 2 more sessions after this one, and then we'll be finished with Atisha's advice from the heart. So I look forward to seeing you in the next session. Have a great week ahead, and please stay safe. Namaste. If you enjoyed this video, then press the subscribe button now. And don't forget to share the video with your friends.